The Five Rings Podcast, Toronto 2015 Pan Am Edition with Duane Rollins and Kevin Laramie. Here's Duane Rollins.
And welcome to Five Rings Pan Am Edition. I am Duane Rollins here in the host city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Kevin Laramie, he's in Montreal right now. He'll be in Toronto tomorrow. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Hot, muggy, boiling, cooking inside here, but can't wait to be there tomorrow to enjoy the Gold Cup, to enjoy, but most of all, the Pan Am Games. Already looking forward to Thursday for track cycling. If you know me, you know that's what I'll be in Milton Thursday, but can't wait to be there tomorrow to just feel, I've always dreamed, Duane, of walking in an Olympic city during the Olympics, and tomorrow I kind of get to do that.
Yeah, on a slightly smaller scale, but you know what? Pan Am fever, has it hit Toronto? I don't know if fever is the right way to put it, but it's as I expected, that a lot of people, a lot of grumpy people out there would find ways to be cynical about it in the lead into the game. And as soon as the game started, just your average people that live in the city and were neither passionate nor hateful towards the game said, I'll go check that out. And it's exactly what happened this weekend. The crowds were good. No matter what the predictions were heading in, ticket sales went through the roof. The organizers say on Saturday they're selling about 100% more per day than they were in the lead up to the games. They're expecting that many of the track events and swimming events especially will be sold out. The diving pool has been ecstatic. Regional field for the gold medal results of gold medal games on the weekend for the Rugby 7 was packed. Well, it was 20,000. It wasn't 30,000 packed, but I don't think they even opened the upper decks, so they sold it out as well as they could.
It's a record, too, the most watched Rugby 7 games in Canadian history.
Yeah, and it's leading into there's going to be a Rugby 7 World event in Vancouver next year, so lots of excitement to build upon there. Well, not the same city, but hopefully the Vancouver folks that are listening can get out and support that. It's a lot of fun out there. I know a lot of people that personally went. I couldn't go because my weekends are taken up. I can't attend events on the weekend, but I can today. And today I am, as soon as the show is over, almost going to jump in the shower, get myself ready to go down and spend a day watching beach volleyball. I'm quite excited by that as I start my Pan Am experience, my personal Pan Am experience. I did check out some of the stuff around the distillery area on the weekend. I did do that. That was kind of fun just to see it. Lots of people out there smiling, having a good time, enjoying the summer, enjoying the events, and Canada is cleaning up on the medal table, and that helps things out a lot, too.
I texted you this morning, so this is how USA feels most of the time. You wake up, there's 20 medals in, almost. I'm exaggerating, but just to get the feeling, it's like, wow, we're racking the medals everywhere right now.
Yeah, the flatwater events are going on this morning, so they can't even keep up with the medals as they're coming in. The flatwater is not the strongest field, and Canada does have a tradition in kayaking and canoeing and so on and so forth. The rowers as well are on the water today down in St. Catharines, so lots of fun stuff going on there. Without any further ado, I do want to, I'll throw it to you, Kevin. We do want to thank our music that's on the show. We were provided an album from a good Toronto band. I'll let you talk about that real quick, Kevin, and then we'll get into our wood, bronze, silver, and gold medals.
We had the idea of promoting an indie Toronto band because it's Toronto 2015. So thanks to the Autumn Stones with the album Escapist. You can hear the song, many different songs during the run of this show, and the bumper intro and everything. So thanks to the Autumn Stones Escapist, available on iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere you get your good music, and as we should say, in all good record store, you can still find some.
Are there record stores? I don't know, but iTunes is essentially a record store nowadays, so you can find it right there in your own bedroom at night when you're clicking around on iTunes, and we do recommend that you support local artists wherever you're from, but also check out music from all over the place, including Toronto, which has a lot of great music. When we were looking for bands for this, it's just my eyes were wide open. I used to watch a lot of bands back in the day. I haven't had as much chance as I've gotten older and more covering into sports, but I kind of missed it when I was listening to it. Got stuck in a real big local music loop there on Friday, but anyway, we move on. Kevin, let's start with you and start with the wood medal of your day today.
Well, today is Monday. It's the beginning of the weekday programming. The way it's set up, quite disappointed. That's my wood medal. The way we cannot watch more than one thing live. There's not a lot of choices. I'm disappointed about it. Like you say, there's Panamania in Toronto right now. But if you want to spread that Panamania outside of the GTA, would have been better if we can experience it the way we're used to experience those games, because you provided us this before, and now you just took it away and scaled it back, and it hurts because it's about, 500 meters from where their headquarters are, and they, for some reason, didn't get it right this time. CBC and the week they covered.
Yeah, and whether that has to do with cutbacks, CBC has been hurt with over the past few years, and we're not going to get political here, but certainly they have had their ability to provide live programming. You would think that, they had the host broadcaster. You would think that there would have been other nations that would have been looking for broadcast, and it's not too hard to throw. Even just, I hate to say this, technically it doesn't even have to be as great if there's not a lot of TV demand elsewhere. Like even a single camera option would be better than nothing. You've got to have PR people out there that can do that sort of stuff, kind of like we see Canadian soccer have to do at times when they're playing smaller countries. So I don't know. It's kind of disappointing that way. There's more streaming today than there was in the weekend, and I think it's kind of a soft launch of the games in a lot of ways. The big events don't really start until tomorrow. The swimming gets going, so it's kind of a weird way to start games. We're used to jumping right in with swimming week 1 and track week 2 when we see Olympics, and it's not that way. They started with the diving. I think that had a lot to do with CBC TV considerations. They tend to dive into big sport on the CBC when they play it because it appeals to a wider demographic, which is a polite way of me saying that my mom wants to watch it as much as my dad. And I think that's kind of why they wanted to start with that. They also knew the Canadians were pretty strong, so that they would have something to show. But that said, they showed the Calgary Bloody Stampede last night live rather than the diving, so I don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm sure this afternoon we'll see yesterday's diving, which is driving me nuts on the CBC. Why are they showing old programming when there's current programming going on? That was yesterday's wood medal for me, wasn't it, Kevin?
Yes, exactly. So just let's throw it to you for your wood medal of today.
My wood medal has to do with the local grumps that are refusing to capitulate on the fact that they were wrong. I'm talking about the general sports columnists here in Toronto, the general sports radio guys. I'm talking about you, Bob McCowan. I'm talking about all of the people there that told us for years leading into this that this was going to be a bomb that was going to be played in front of empty stadiums. It wasn't empty stadiums on the weekend. I haven't heard any of you say, you know what, I was wrong. I look forward to it if you do, and I will take this back if you do. But for God's sakes, sometimes you have to let events breathe. You have to see what happens before you make predictions, because your opinion, grumpy, bitter, cynical sports reporter that only wants to watch the NFL or whatever is irrelevant. What's relevant are the people that have gone out and supported this. I was watching, it's not a sport I like, but I was tuning in because, again, what I talked to my mother and how I try and help her find events. So I was trying to find when synchronized swimming was on because she loves synchronized swimming. So it turns out that she couldn't watch it anyway because my mother's from 1890 and can't watch computers. But at any rate, she's not going to listen to this because if she can't figure out computers, she's not going to have podcasts. Sorry, Mom. Anyway, I tuned it in, and it was packed, and it was clear that what it was, and I think that a lot of the events are going to be like this. I think rugby was like this as well. Are people involved with that sport have just, of course, they're going to go out and watch this because they understand the level and they want to watch it. And that's going to be a lot of people in Toronto's Pan Am experiences, that they're going to see one or two events. They might not necessarily be engaged in it in the same way they would with an Olympics, but that's fine. It's not an Olympics. But this is going to be just fine. Tickets are going to go just fine, and I just hope that at least one of those columnists that told us how much of a disaster this was going to be says, you know what, I was wrong. That's all I hope for. And I haven't seen it so far, so that's my wood medal. All right, let's move to my bronze medal, which is I'm trying to get a little bit non-Canadian focused here. If you want my Canadian takes, you can go to Canada's Plane for daily written coverage of this and other news break as it breaks. My bronze medal is the great Mexican 10-meter platform diver, Ivan Garcia. He is ranked number 2 in the world on the platform, and he showed why last night in an incredible diving day at the dive pool. It was great. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on, but the other event that was there. But it was just a good day out there. The full sold-out crowd had a great, they saw a lot of great diving. They saw world-class diving. They saw diving that will win Olympic medals. And Ivan Garcia, especially the last dive, was just like, yeah, I can't describe it. It was with any sort of authority. It was just, you have to watch it. You can still see the replay on cbc.ca/Pan Ams if you're interested. A world-class diver that put on a world-class performance. He was wearing a Drake hat the entire time, too, so a little shout-out to the host nation. Not when he was diving, but you know what I mean, between guys.
No.
And, yeah.
With Mexico, with the cliff diving culture that Mexico has in different part of the country. It's fun to see that translate in Olympic sport. And sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, but it's fun to see a cultural um entertainment, still sport aspect nowadays with a lot of cliff diving competition. But you see that translate into the 10-meter platform, and it's fun to see. And the grace, I think it's the best way to describe it. Just the grace of him when he dove, it was something special.
Yeah, Mexico has, as you say, a tradition in diving, and they started up in the last few years. They've now won, I believe it is, of the last 12 gold medals at the Pan Am, or 13 gold medals at the Pan Am, they've won 12 of them. I think that the Canadian synchro team is going to have a little bit of a say in making that not a clean sweep this time, but certainly they are a power, and a power that are direct rivals to Canada to try and clean up in the pool in the days that remain in the diving competition, which has so far been, one of the great success stories, both, in the stands and in the water so far in the Pan Ams in the early days. Let's throw to you, Kevin, and get your bronze medal.
My bronze medal is a competition as a whole. Roller figure skating. No, they're not a rollerblade. They're on almost old school 4 type of roller skate. And it's figure skating. Different look, different vibe, but for once it gives the community, a tight-knit community that competes, a bigger stage to compete at and more eyes on it. It's a very, very niche sport, as you can imagine. But to compete on the Pan Am level, it really gave everyone who participated in that competition an uplift, a boost, and it created a great competition. Something that you would not used to see. It's different than figure skating on ice. It's not as fluid or as graceful, but it's very close, and it has a different feel to it, and it almost brings you back to the 70s when you were at where I could just imagine you were at the roller rink in town and just having fun, and that's what it feels like, and it was just fun to see, Duane.
Well, that's good. I didn't get a chance to see that one, so maybe I'll try and, I don't know if I can find highlights, but hopefully CBC will show me some at some point. So that would be certainly something to take a look at. Kevin, what was your silver medal?
My surprise mountain bike gold. Raphaël Gagné won the men's mountain bike competition at the Hardware Mountain Biking Center in the Pan Am Games. It's a surprise. Yes, he had great results. He's been in the scene since 2006. He's with Team Maxis Rocky Mountain in his team in the regular UCI competition, World Tour mountain biking competitions. But in the Pan Am Games, it's in Canada. It's on home soil. He was able to ride that track probably 100 times more than anybody else on the field. Something close to that, I would guess. And that usually pays off in those one-day competition, those one-day race, when you know where to attack, when to attack, and how the terrain in front of you is going to unfold, especially in mountain bike, when you know where the rocks, where the jumps, where the tree stumps are located. When you can take that to your advantage, well, comes out with gold, and we saw that with Raphaël Gagné. So that is just amazing. When it's a gold medal, we talked about the unexpected bronze, how it feels, but just put that to a different level when it's about a gold medal.
Absolutely, and it does get him a spot in Rio as well, which is a significant accomplishment and something that he can now build towards. Always nice to see fresh new faces pop up. We talked the surprise bonds, as you said. We talked about that in the larger events. This is the equivalent here, I think, and it was a nice little story. We expected the women to dominate, and they did. So, we mentioned them yesterday on the show, so it's not like we're ignoring them, but I do think that Gagné was a nice little story in the first weekend of competition. My silver medal, it kind of pains me a little bit because it has a bit of a Canadian tie-in that's not in a great way, but it's the Brazilian men's soccer team that did exactly what you'd expect a Brazilian men's soccer team to do. Now, look, they played Canada. They beat them 4-1. The score's a little flattering in the sense that the Canadians actually put a game effort in. I could go into great detail about the Canadian lineup, but our international listeners don't really care about that. The Pan Ams are essentially a development tournament for all countries involved, including Canada. So, it is what it is. But at the same time, Brazil just had this sort of ease, this sort of quality to them that you just can't teach, and it's something that's just brilliant to watch when it goes on, and it goes on well. And they've sort of been in a bit of a down spell in the last couple of years with some bad results, as we all know. both in the men's and the women's side. So to see a Brazilian team go out and do what a Brazilian team's expected to do was just really, really kind of nice, even if it was against Canada. I do think, from briefly, if I could touch on the Canadian side, that there's going to be better days ahead for this young Canadian team. They are really preparing to compete in CONCACAF, not CONMEBOL, so they, the results against Panama in the days ahead is the one that's going to matter. That's their next game on Wednesday. So I saw enough there, and there's one final story. There's a player that I talk about a lot on our other shows, Mo Mabuli. 2 years ago, Mo Mabuli was playing in unsanctioned men's league games. He didn't have any pro contracts, didn't have any pro opportunities. He was discovered. He played 1 year in League One Ontario. It's the semi-pro level. Last year was the Golden Boot winner there. Got a professional contract, a fully professional contract with the USL side for TFC and the TFC reserve side, the MLS team, if you're an international listener. And now, 2 years later, after playing in unsanctioned men's leagues, he scored against Brazil, and that's a nice story unto itself. So, all total, that Canada-Brazil game will be my silver medal. Kevin.
Shout out to Louis Blanc-Goyette, who probably had a great game for Canada as well. Another USL representative, and by the way, you loved USL? USL Radio. All right.
There you go.
Shameless plug. My gold medal is the rugby sweep. We own Rugby 7 in the Americas right now. But most importantly, the women's game, how they dominated, how the two teams, the United States and Canada, in the final in the women's side of Rugby 7s, the different philosophy of the coaching, it was great to see. You had the raw coach, former coaching staff of Canada, now head coach of the United States. His name escapes me. It's some Dunye, if I'm not mistaken. But he was at halftime. You can see he's like, rah, girls, you need to do this. He was almost angry and yelling at the girls. While on the Canada side, he's just talking about tactics, calm. And you could tell on the pitch there was the big difference. A player like Magali Harvey, tactically, strategically, smarter than everybody else on the pitch. The way she executes her kick to gain the advantage, she does it differently than anybody else I've seen in any Rugby Sevens game I've watched yesterday, and I've watched a lot. She has a different technique, and she practiced that probably 10,000 times. And the way she does it, every single time she does it right, it's impressive. The way she cuts back, almost like an NFL type of player on that exhibition stadium or BMO field. The way she did it, it was amazing to see. She was literally pulling off moves that we see in FIFA, that we see in NFL. The way she just took the defenders out of their shoes by cut back in front of them and just running into to do the try in the try zone. It was a great dominant performance, 55-7. What can you say more than that for the gold medal? And a great job.
Yeah, every time I heard Exhibition Stadium, I think there's a dead stadium has risen from the dead, and Ernie Whitt's gonna come out and hit a home run on his knee or something.
Exactly.
Exhibitions, for those that don't know, Exhibition Stadium was a stadium that existed in the spot where that field, the stadium is now. In the past, has been torn down. One of those where the Toronto Blue Jays originally played up until 1988, I believe.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a long dead stadium, and Ernie Whitt is a catcher who's actually the manager of the Canadian baseball team. So I have tied this back into the Pan Am Games. Trust me on that. I am a professional.
Wow.
I briefly on the men's side. Briefly on the men's side. Look, they were behind. They came from behind in all three of their knockout games. The Chilean game, as I talked about in yesterday's show, was just bizarre, like something you'd never seen before. The semifinal was a bit of a standard comeback, but even the gold medal game, Argentina led that for most of it until this the final second. There was just sort of an intangible, like they didn't want to lose in front of that big pro-Canadian crowd because they so rarely get to play in front of one, and I think that really drove them on, and so. Little hat tip to the partisan crowd that showed up there. I've been to a rugby game at BMO Exhibition Stadium, if you prefer, before, and it is a very interesting phenomenon. The amount of people that are involved in rugby, throughout Ontario, just they come in droves to watch it because it's droves, I should say. That's because they don't get a lot of opportunity to see it at a big level. I'll be covering some pre-World Cup Canadian rugby games there later on this summer, and we'll probably talk about that on the show when that time comes. So good times all together, and a good gold medal. Mine comes.
We forget when there's a Rugby World Cup as well in 2015. One of the biggest year, I think, in sports history.
Yeah, there's too much happening in 2015. We'll get to that at some point. That's in the fall. And the World Track and Field Championships before that, as we said yesterday, too. So that's a major event as well that we'll have to be talking about a lot as soon as we're done with this one. My gold medal is the Canada 1-2 finish in the 3-meter platform that broke the Mexican dominance in the pool out. An event I was looking forward to. I knew that Jessica Belda would be the Montreal woman that is so dominant, the third-ranked driver in the world at that. She came through. She got it done. She did exactly what she was supposed to do. She was clearly the most dominant. Pamela Ware was the name of the woman that finished second. Also Montreal divers, the Fab Four.
Pamela Ware. She was the one that her name escaped me yesterday as well.
Yeah. And she's kind of a new one on the scene, so that's understandable that you might forget her name at that point, but let's not forget her moving forward. She is a Pan Am medalist now. Just as, like I said, we talked earlier about Gagne coming through and how nice it is to see someone that you're not expecting win the medal, and somehow that makes you forget about the people that are supposed to perform and do. So this is a case of someone who was supposed to perform and did in both of the diving medals yesterday, and they were it was a very enjoyable competition. And I think that it just shows exactly what these Pan Am Games can be at their best. This was a field that, although it's missing, the Chinese divers, it's missing. Australia has a strong diving program. England, Great Britain has a strong diving program now too. So it's obviously not an Olympic field. The European Championships are an Olympic field either because it's missing the Canadians and the Americans. So. But it is a strong field. It was probably 75-80% of the strength of the world, and they came through and won and got a gold medal. And she's the third-ranked diver in the world at Bella's, and she showed it. And it's going to be interesting to watch her in Rio next year, and that is my gold medalist for the day.
So what are you looking forward to watching today, Duane?
Well, beach volleyball, of course. I'm also looking forward to watching more of the diving. It's the synchro gets going today. It's just, the multi-sport events, it's just exciting now that we're in the meat of this competition. I'm really looking forward to swimming getting off tomorrow. That to me is always what represents I like track a lot too, but track is always the second half at every multi-event games. It's always the second week. Swimming is always the first week. It's just how your brain works. You're just accustomed to watching those heats in the morning and those finals at night, and that's how you do your day. Everything else gets worked around the swimming and the track and field meets, so I'm looking forward to one more day to that. Also, can't wait to get out on Wednesday to watch the tennis. We're not seeing a lot of that. The Canadians did okay in the weekend. I haven't really had a time this morning to check into exactly how they did yesterday, but certainly they were doing pretty well. And hopefully I will get to see some of them compete for medals on Monday, that young Canadian team that has come through that Canadian system that so revitalized itself about a decade ago. So there's lots I'm looking forward to this week. But in terms of today, I'm just really pumped to be down there and to be in a stadium and to be watching it live. That's what I'm most looking forward to today.
You'll be able to enjoy the Panamania.
Exactly. And a quick shout out. There's some photos I saw from the weekend at the concerts, and it was mental how many people were down there at the free concerts. So even non-sports fans have really had something, an opportunity to enjoy the weekend with two great shows to kick off Panamania, the concert thing. So lots of things to do. Can't wait, and we'll see you tomorrow, Kevin. Tomorrow's going to be a bit of a weird day because we have the Gold Cup, which is right in the middle of the Pan Ams. It's kind of irritated that it's in the middle of the Pan Ams, but it should be a good time and a different kind of experience. But we'll see.
Absolutely. And until tomorrow, probably somewhere around the day, we'll see when. Have a great Panamania on your podium, folks.